Thomas Andrews, the designer of the Titanic, once said, "Not even God can sink this ship." But the Titanic sank on its first journey. They say the cause was the iceberg and the failure to control its speed. Andrews had ignored the icebergs ahead. When Abraham Lincoln gave a speech about keeping the US free and democratic, he may not have seen the problems ahead. Just like when President George H.W. Bush said America could not be defeated, he didn't fully understand the future challenges. Now, in early 2025, experts say the US is facing many serious problems. A society that was once a symbol of stability and hope now moves forward amid doubt and uncertainty. Perhaps as in the past, the warning signs are already in front of us, but is anyone truly paying attention? After the Cold War, it was the leader of unipolar world. If John F. Kennedy once wrote about England's fall, now many thinkers speak about America's decline. People like Joseph Nye, Stephen Walt, Daniel Altman, Kenneth Waltz, Naomi Klein, and Walter Lassermead. The idea of America's decline was first raised by theorists like Emanuel Wallerstein. He believed that America's power was falling compared to the value of gold and the dollar. After the Cold War, America's global power in politics and economy weakened more. In the 21st century, America got involved in long wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Yemen, and more. Biden's sudden exit from Afghanistan showed that America lacked good strategies. While the US lost some of its military strength, its enemies became stronger. Countries like China and Russia developed hypersonic and stealth weapons. North Korea tested nuclear weapons. Iran built long-range missiles. These developments made the US more worried.
اگه از امروز ما شروع بکنیم هر هفته یه رونمایی از یه شهر مشکل داشته باشیم، هر هفته تا 2 سال دیگه تمام نمیشه.
New military technologies and cyber weapons have reduced America's dominance. America's influence has also fallen in global leadership, especially after events like October 2023. Supporting Israeli crimes gave the world a dark image of the US. For example, Netanyahu's speech in the US Congress and the cheers he received shocked many.
We win, they lose.
Betraying allies also hurt America's image. The way President Zelensky was treated at the White House made many US-dependent countries doubt America's loyalty.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position.
Tensions with Canada, Greenland, Mexico, Colombia, and Panama also harmed America's reputation. In 1951, the US promised Denmark to protect Greenland. But now America is trying to take control of it. America once acted as a global leader and peacekeeper, but those days are over.
What is America's role in the world? And that is the question. What do each of you see as our role in the world? And I believe, Governor Romney, it's your turn to go first.
Well, I absolutely believe that America has a responsibility and the privilege of helping defend freedom and promote the principles that make the world more peaceful. And those principles include human rights, human dignity, free enterprise, freedom of expression, elections, because when there are elections, people tend to vote for peace. They don't vote for war. So we want to promote those principles around the world. We recognize that there are places of conflict in the world. We want to end those conflicts to the extent humanly possible. But in order to be able to fulfill our role in the world, America must be strong.
Leaving UNESCO and the Paris Agreement, quitting the UN, and sanctioning the Hague Court after Netanyahu's conviction. These are examples of how America has broken international promises. There is no real Native American population in the US today. Decades of immigration have created a divided and contradictory society. The US used its media power to promote its values, but the divisions have become more visible, especially among immigrants from war-affected countries like Palestine, Lebanon, Sudan, Libya, Afghanistan, and Syria. For example, celebrities like Bella and Gigi Hadid support Palestine. Amal Clooney has worked to take Netanyahu to court. Trump once said any student who supports Palestine will lose their visa. He also planned to deport immigrants with anti-American views. America's harsh treatment of Mexican immigrants, such as separating children from their parents, caused major criticism. There are also tensions with US students and intellectuals, like threats to cut Columbia University's budget after Gaza protest. Trump's return also brought threats to cut research funds, like NASA's budget possibly dropping by 50%. Casey Dreyer from the Planetary Society said this would destroy US space science. China has now passed America in some parts of the economy. Trump's trade war raised tariffs on Chinese goods, starting a new economic fight. At the same time, US tensions with Taiwan and Asian countries have increased. US missile systems in Taiwan and the Philippines angered China. Joint China-Russia-Iran drills have worried American leaders. America led about 100 coups in the second half of the 20th century. It invaded many countries and threatened others with war. These wars caused destruction both abroad and at home. The Vietnam War was a disaster for the US. The Iraq War damaged America's economy. It had to cover most of the costs and deal with oil price shocks. The Gulf War cost the US and its allies $60 billion and caused an economic slowdown due to high oil prices. US allies paid about 80% of the Gulf War costs. The Afghanistan War, one of the longest US military operations, ended in a humiliating exit. Trump also started a new type of war, a tariff war. He targeted 102 countries, mostly China, South Korea, and Europe. These countries reacted strongly. Australia called it a weak and unjustified move. Ireland said it was sad to hear. Europe prepared for a fight. Asia talked about building an alliance to counter the trade war. Racism and discrimination against black people is a major issue in the US. The Black Lives Matter movement showed this clearly. Environmental disasters like wildfires and storms have caused big financial losses. Social problems like gun violence, school shootings, police brutality, and rising homelessness are serious concerns in America today. Single mothers, gender issues, and family breakdown have added to America's social problems. Trump's speech limiting LGBTQ rights made the situation worse. America's healthcare system is also struggling. It has no full public healthcare. Most healthcare is run by private companies. The COVID-19 pandemic showed how weak the system really is. On May 11, 2023, the Medicaid program for the poor was removed. Millions of low-income people lost their health care. State officials said they can no longer pay for such services. Reports show that 50% of America's 1,810 rural hospitals are in crisis and 418 are at risk of closing. Liz Theoharis, a theologian and poverty rights activist, wrote that the death gap between rich and poor is growing fast. CNN reported that the US has the highest rates of maternal and child deaths and deaths from treatable diseases among wealthy nations. Americans live shorter lives than people in other advanced countries. Americans visit doctors less than other countries, partly because there are fewer specialists. The US is also the only country in the study without universal health coverage. In 2021, 8.6% of people had no health insurance. Many said they simply couldn't afford it. The cost of healthcare per person in the US is much higher than in places like Germany, France, Switzerland, Norway, South Korea, the Netherlands, Sweden, Canada, Australia, the UK, Japan, and New Zealand. The US also faces economic challenges, rising debt, unemployment, slow growth, and more class division. The We Are the 99% protests showed public anger. America's military and economic power helped it lead the world for decades. But these problems have weakened that leadership. If COVID-19 broke the myth of Western science, the Gaza war shattered the myth of Western human rights. Now imagine if a big new war starts, maybe in West Asia, or a conflict with Iran as Trump has threatened. In 2019, on September 14, Yemeni missiles hit Saudi Aramco oil facilities. Oil production dropped and prices jumped by 20%, going above $70 a barrel. This shocked global stock markets and scared investors. That was a small attack. But if even a small attack happens on Iran, it could be a disaster for America, which is already in trouble. This could include the destruction of oil facilities and a massive spike in energy prices. If Iran decides to control the Strait of Hormuz or Bab el-Mandeb through its allies, global oil and shipping would suffer greatly. Over 65% of the world's oil needs pass through the Persian Gulf. Any tension here will seriously disrupt global fuel and transport chains. This would cause inflation in oil importing countries. Rising inflation leads to slower growth and mass unemployment. The American conservative magazine wrote, US planners must understand why war with Iran will bring sorrow to us and our so-called Israeli friends. Iran is not Iraq. It has double the population, a better economy, and stronger allies than Saddam Hussein's Iraq. There will be no easy victory. Because of Trump and Netanyahu's actions, a larger war in the Middle East has now begun, and we Americans will regret the role we played in starting it.